Hey everybody, it's JJ here, and welcome back to Geeky Dad's Reads. And tonight I'm going to be talking about my review of Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber, part of the Star Wars Expanded Universe series. Now, I listened to this version on audiobook up here. It was incredible. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I love what they do with the production quality of all the Star Wars novels on audio. It's an amazing experience if you've never listened to any of the Expanded Universe books or anything like that. Of course, this book is slightly horror. I think all of Joe's books are horror, whether it's Red Harvest or Mall Lockdown or, of course, Death Troopers. I think this is probably more mainstream type horror than the other two, but this definitely has some violent elements in it. Now, of course, what I'm going to be talking about right here at the beginning, of course, is all spoiler-free. So if you haven't read the book, I'll let you know before I get to the spoiler section so that you can turn off the video and go listen to this incredible story or pick up a copy and read it as well. Now, right out of the gate, what is happening is there's two brothers that are on a prison barge. And the book is told from the POV of multiple different characters, mainly these two brothers who were on this prison barge with their father. And they're fairly young. I'd say probably the oldest is maybe 18, 19. The youngest is probably 14 or 15, somewhere around that. There's also the doctor that is on board the ship. And then there is a captain as well that is a part of the Imperial Guard or whatever, and so he's on there. And then there's another POV as well that I don't want to talk about because it is kind of a big spoiler. Of course, as the book opens up, what happens is this prison barge basically loses power. The ship is just drifting through space, and what they end up discovering is that there's a Star Destroyer out there that is also drifting through space. They try and get in touch with the Star Destroyer. It's like it's deserted. It's almost like it's a ghost ship, although they are picking up maybe 5 or 6 life readings on this ship, but that is it, which is strange because most Star Destroyers have thousands and thousands of officers and stormtroopers and everything else on board. So what they do is they put together a boarding party, and they go and they dock with this Star Destroyer, and a group goes over there and they start investigating, and they find nobody. But what happens is then they come back, everybody on the prison barge begins to get sick, and what they discover is they actually brought back a virus with them. Now, this virus, of course, is starting to allow the dead to come back to life. It's starting to allow things to be reanimated in many ways, but people are also getting sick. They're not only dying, they're going crazy. Everything is going wrong. This is like the worst pandemic, and it's spreading all of a sudden. So, what happens is the doctor ends up finding sort of not necessarily a cure, but sort of a vaccination that allows them to not get infected. And she starts vaccinating a few people. And as a result, some people aren't getting sick, like the two brothers, of course, this captain, her, and 2 other characters that I don't want to give away as a spoiler. Long story short, they end up going over to the Star Destroyer in order to escape all the zombies, pretty much, that are on board their ship. And that's where things kind of take a turn for the worse. Now, if you haven't read the book or you haven't listened to the audiobook, I'm going to recommend you turn it off here because now I'm going to get into some spoilers, and I want to give that spoiler warning before I get started. So, the 2 characters that were in solitary confinement this entire time that are not infected by this virus, of course, are Han Solo and Chewbacca. Han and Chewie make an appearance in this, and it's a pretty big appearance. I don't think they really show up until Act 2, which is kind of refreshing because usually in the second act is where the things just kind of slow down. They don't slow down in this book. They just keep moving, and they move fast. Now, there is some death in here. Of course, the captain tries to escape by getting on this escape pod, but the escape pod is stuck in the tractor beam, and that is a tractor beam from the Star Destroyer, so he's pretty much pulled right back in, and he basically leaves everybody for this dead. He gives up, and he basically is like, I'm a coward, I'm gonna get out of here. Not really a coward, but he doesn't care about anybody. But at the end of the day, he's the one that ends up rescuing a couple of people in order for them to escape. Now, as they're getting on board this Star Destroyer, one of the brothers gets bit, and of course, he ends up dying, which allows Han, Chewie, and the younger brother to take off while the doctor stays and cares for the older brother. The captain, of course, after he gets in the tractor beam, he comes back on. He ends up in this sort of the bridge, I guess is where it is, or maybe it's a shuttle. And he finds the captain of the commander of the Star Destroyer, and he starts telling him exactly what happened. And what we discover here is that the Empire had been weaponizing a virus, and they were under orders from Vader to basically deliver this virus to a certain colony, and they were going to release it there. Of course, the commander and his men have sort of turned into cannibals. They're eating the weak, and they're ready to eat the captain. But he manages to escape because, one, these people are a little bit weak. They're a little skinny. They can't fight back as hard, and he ends up getting the drop on them and getting away pretty quick. Now, Han and Chewie are also trying to get to a place where they can escape. They think the doctor's dead. They know the brother's dead. Eventually, the doctor doesn't die, so Han, Chewie, this little boy, and the doctor are the only 4 people that end up surviving. But one of the cool things about this is that these zombies are sort of intelligent. And what I mean by intelligent is they have problem-solving skills. They're firing blasters, and they're testing boundaries. And so it's not like they're just mindless zombies looking to bite something and eat something and tear something apart. Yes, that's what they want to do. But they also have this sort of ability to sort of critically think about things and test things and do things, which makes these zombies a little bit different. Of course, one of the coolest parts is when you have basically Wookiee zombies, and that is terrifying. This book is really kind of gross in many ways. It has some very sort of graphic parts where, they're talking, Joe goes into a lot of detail about ripping the guts out and things like that, and it can get kind of gross and disgusting, but that's what makes horror, I think, fun in some of these books. And so there's a few places I was just like, oh, that disgusts me, and I'm ready to vomit. But at the end of the day, it's a great story. I think this is one of those books that would probably make an incredible video game if they were ever to do this. It's a fun book. I enjoyed it. I definitely give it 5 stars. Is it in my top 30? Probably not, because it doesn't really add anything more to the Star Wars universe. It's more just popcorn fiction and just there for fun. But it's a good, enjoyable story. I liked it. I like the angle of the Empire messing with sort of bio-warfare and things like that. That's always kind of cool, and I love hearing those type of stories. I wish we get more stories like that as well. So there you go. That is my review of Joe Schreiber's Death Troopers. It's very good. If you haven't checked it out, I invite you to go check it out. Like I said, the audiobook's only like 12 hours, so you can knock it out probably in less than a week. It's not that long of a book. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later.